I think there's actually two stories here, as well as the kind of domestic stories of each of these individual countries. India's problem is that it has a current account deficit, effectively relying more heavily on imports than anything else, and the fall in their currency is going to hurt their ability to import. Looking across the rest of the region, you've got the reliance on either, say, US kind of the economy there, or China. Now, if these two stories, as in China's growth coming down and the US effectively bringing its own economy off stimulus, these two stories, the way they interact and how strongly they interact, and perhaps how severe the effect is on the surrounding economies, that's going to be the big thing.
But what are the trends showing you at the moment? Are we likely to see more depreciation for emerging Asian currencies rather than appreciation?
Yeah, at the moment I think we are going to see it that way. You know, we've seen a number of Asian countries have to cut interest rates this year. India is a good example, and we've seen rate cuts in other places like Vietnam, and that's because they're trying to battle the fact that their growth is slowing, and they are going to suffer against a stronger US dollar.
But with depreciating currencies, this will be a boom for exporters, but it could also stoke inflation, which in turn could make some of the Asian central banks here tighten interest rates, and we could see an appreciation of currencies again.
Well, I think we might be a little way off that yet. I mean, if you look across to the US even, the talk that we're only just starting to think about coming off the quantitative easing, and that means that perhaps interest rate rises are still a long way away. And I think that the fact that we're quite early on in the cycle, you know, what we've seen in China over the last couple of weeks regarding the kind of tightening there suggests that interest rate rises in a lot of these economies are still going to be some way off.
All right, Japan. We've seen the Japanese yen continuing to weaken, and they have long-term inflation plans. How does the weak yen affect other countries in the region, and what does it matter?
Well, I think this matters hugely. I mean, from Japan's point of view, the data is starting to trickle out to the benefit, showing things perhaps are starting to work in the Abenomics cycle. But I think, remember a couple of weeks back, I think it was New Zealand were the first country to come out and say that the weakness in the yen was starting to hurt them. And I think Japan, being one of the biggest players in the region, it's all the countries that have got to do business with them that are really going to have to kind of tighten and suffer if the yen does continue to weaken.